Welcome to the podcast, Living by Oak Values. My name is Robert, and I host this podcast with my friend Gary. Join us today as we dive deep and share meaningful stories, discuss values that shape our lives. We will explore how we use these values to guide us through life, shaping our decisions, our relationships, and raising our kids. We are embracing the journey of personal growth, navigating our own paths, and we are committed to living by these values and passing them on to our children. We are thrilled to have you here today and can't wait to share our latest episodes. If you are a long-time listener or just now discovering us, welcome. Check us out at northmancoaching.com. Feel free to introduce yourselves in the comments. You're welcome to join the community Northman Legacy Crew and let us know what topics you're most interested in hearing about. Sign up with your email for behind the scenes, sneak peeks, and exciting updates. We hope you enjoy today's episode. Happy listening.
All right, today we're going to be talking about the value of communication. And communication is important for several reasons that we're going to get into. But just to get the top of it, it's good for building relationships, conflict resolution, collaboration and teamwork, empathy and connection, and personal growth, along with influencing and persuasion.
All right. So, on the back of the card, communication is the process by which information is openly exchanged between two individuals. So, embracing this practice, first thing, we talked about building relationships.
Yes, sir.
How did you...
Well, hold up. Before you ask me any questions, we have a bunch of notes. I don't want it to be too boring to the listeners, but communication is key to every single relationship, whether it is a romantic relationship, a platonic relationship, any kind of relationship. If there's no communication, then there's no relationship. You have to communicate properly to build a relationship. I just want to throw that out there for everyone so they understand what's going on off the bat. In case you shut it off right now, at least you know that.
And so we're going to start with his first bullet point, building the relationship. What brought communication to your attention in your relationship?
So I would say that, well, like I say in almost every episode, I feel like now, my divorce. When I first separated from my wife, I thought everything was perfectly fine. We had the best relationship that we could possibly have. Boy, I was so wrong. One of those things that I didn't do was communicate. And I don't think she did either. She'll say she did, but I wasn't getting any of it. So I don't know if it's different language or whatnot, but I realized that after my separation and eventually divorce, that I needed better communication with everyone in my life, but definitely my next romantic partner. And that all happened because my interest in building better relationships was that I didn't want to have another one like the marriage I was in. Not that it was a bad marriage, but I don't want to be the bad partner. I don't want to be the one not listening or the one not communicating. My interest was that I want to search, inside of me for what it takes to communicate effectively. And I'm also looking for that in a partner who will also communicate effectively to me.
I didn't know that I was communicating inefficiently, I guess. And then I realized how important it was not only to be communicating properly, but also listening properly.
Well, listening is definitely a huge part of communication.
Yeah.
Because you can communicate all day long with me, and if I'm not listening, are you really communicating?
Transitions us into the next one is, now that I know how to listen and communicate properly, it makes conflict resolution a little bit easier, where I set clear expectations. I set clear boundaries. I didn't have that before. Once I learned how to do it, it became easier. And then now it's like, it feels the right way to do it. And so
the boundaries and expectations, it's like second nature now. Yeah. And, what we've learned in all of our courses that we've taken is different communication tactics when it comes to conflict resolution. Like the number one thing that we've learned together was 24/7 rule. Sleep on it for at least 24 hours, but no more than 7 days. So if you have not brought it back up after 7 days, then clearly it's not something that really bothers you. And, with my last relationship I was in, there were many times when, especially toward the end, when we were having some kind of a conflict, and I would say to her, listen, I need to process what's going on right here. I cannot respond to you at this point in time. We'll discuss this tomorrow or whatever, because I needed to really process what I was feeling, what she had said, come up with the correct response instead of reacting and blowing up.
Yes, exactly. I did that a lot of times too, is I reacted thinking that I was communicating, and I was reacting, and it actually did the opposite effect. It actually shut down communication, and then the conflict resolution didn't work.
So it's very, very important for the resolution part to make sure that you can take the time out that you need, and you deserve it. Everybody has deserved it. So the person you're in a conflict with is not allowing you to take that moment, walk away, to clear your head and get your thoughts in order before you respond.
Mm-hmm. So I heard a joke.
Go for it. What's your joke?
Why did the smartphone break up with the laptop?
Because the laptop had a virus?
Because they couldn't find the right connection, and every conversation turned into a screen argument.
That's awesome. So the next topic we had said was collaboration and teamwork.
Yeah.
And if you're in a team environment, which I know you are at work, I am sometimes, but even with your family is a team. So, and if you are not clear on your communication and clear on what you expect and set, what you're looking for, you're never really going to get it. You can't assume that people know. Collaboration, teamwork, you need to be very, very clear on what you're doing. When I was married, there was, we collaborated on a lot of things, but we didn't communicate. So therefore, I kind of just went with the flow. It wasn't really a collaboration. I don't think it was her idea, and I went with the flow because I don't know what's going on. But I realize now in my relationships since my divorce that I set clear all the time what I'm looking for, what I'm going to be doing at this point in time, whether it's today or tomorrow. This is what I'm doing, and they are more than welcome to join me or throw a better idea at me if you want. So we can do a little collaboration, whatever. I make it very clear. And even with me and you, with this podcast, we take our notes, we put them together, we compare them, we have a chat before we start, and then boom, we go.
I'm going to bring up one of your discussions you had with me earlier today. Being a leader and giving your expectations down to your subordinates. We talked about this, how you had somebody hand you down a project. It was like, here's the yellow brick road, follow the yellow brick road, but only walk on the blacktop, the black ones. And so if you're a leader, you really, really need to work on your collaboration, teamwork skills. Making sure everybody's on the same page is not easy. It takes a lot of effort because sometimes people are not going to tell you that they're not on the same page because they're afraid they might be judged by you. So,
two things on that. It's funny because that is how I felt. I didn't want to say that I was not on the same page because I felt like I could handle this project that I was assigned, and I could handle it. I could absolutely handle it, but I was on a different page than the guy who gave me the assignment. So I said, we need to have a talk. So we had a 10-minute meeting face to face, and we hashed it all out. He told me what he expected, what he was looking for, and he realized that there was a communication gap. And once we figured it all out, I took my notes, he took his notes, we shared notes, we were communicating on the same exact page. And now this project is going to go very smoothly, I believe. So can you think of a time for you, since I know you're like a boss where you work, you're the job. So
no, actually, I'm not the boss. I'm the little subordinate. Plenty of times where they'll tell you, oh, we can't do that. And it's like, it is crazy how sometimes they don't communicate their needs. And then at the last minute, they'll be like, well, we need this fixed. I'm the fixer at work. So you hinted on something, our next topic being part of having good communication is being empathetic with people and allowing them to express their thoughts and feelings so that you can better understand them. Emotional connection. And we talked about this recently in a past podcast where I wasn't aware of how to be very empathetic, especially to other people or to myself, even for that matter. Feelings were like, guys don't have feelings. So it's very new to me to learn about having empathy and being good at asking people to share their feeling. It's sometimes I'm scared to do it because I'm scared they'll just like start crying on me. But then it's like, after you do it a while, it's like, it's okay. It's okay to cry.
I also feel like when you have that empathy and you can show the people that you're working with that you understand them and where they come from, it also allows them to have that connection with you. And I believe it will make them work a little harder for you.
Actually, going into our next point, clarity and directions. It helps with reducing confusion, ensuring that everyone understands their roles, responsibilities. It increases your confidence. And I can say yes, it does.
It does. Yeah. So on that note, I used to manage restaurants, and I was never very clear on my directions. I just kind of sputtered off what I expected or wanted done. And when it wouldn't get done, I would just go do it myself. That is probably one big thing that may or may not have led to my divorce, is that I worked probably 80, 90 hours a week because I was not clear on my directions at work. So because my subordinates could not do or wouldn't do the task that I asked them to do because I wasn't clear on it. Important to obviously have those boundaries, but when you're giving directions, to be clear and to the point.
I wasn't that way in my past marriage. I wasn't very clear and to the point.
I wasn't clear to the point on anything in my past until I started this men's work.
I mean, I just thought, oh, logically, everybody thinks logically. They should understand that. It wasn't until it fell apart that I realized, wow, I did not see this the way I should have seen it. I had to do something about it. I had to learn how to communicate better.
So how'd you do that?
That took a lot of effort, a lot of reading books. Actually, one of the books I read that was not necessarily was the one about Winning Friends by Dale Carnegie. I had talked to one of the guys and I was like, what does it take to ask questions like you do? And he was like, well, I'm just wired that way. I ask questions. And I was like, that doesn't quite answer my question. And I wasn't necessarily listening. So I went and did research, and I come across the Dale Carnegie book, How to Win and Influence People. And I realized it was more how you talk to people and communicate to them, not necessarily the questions you ask. And it wasn't until we did the coaching that I realized the types of questions are very important too. Not a leading question, but more of a curiosity question.
Open-ended.
Open-ended. Thank you.
If there was a listener out there right now that was struggling with his communication, what are 2 things that you could tell him, and that not read a book or something? What 2 things right now that'll help me communicate better?
The best thing is a quote I got from Peter Drucker. The most important thing in communication is hearing what isn't said.
How do you hear what isn't said?
It's almost like not your words, but pay attention to what the other person is saying.
My thought on that, and I think a lot of that comes with body language, because I call that like reading between the lines. Yeah, or just body language. You kind of get, by really paying attention to the situation and the person talking to you, you can hear things or pick up on things that are not being said. Unfortunately, back for both of us, I believe, when we were married, that was a lot of things, but we were never taught in this life to listen for the unspoken words, I guess.
And I think that's why I like the girl I'm dating now, is because it's really, really teaching me that. I'm really learning to notice and not necessarily listen to her words, but listen to her when she says something, the cues, it's something wrong, but it's not necessarily the word she's using, because the word she's using may not be reflecting what is wrong.
So I have another quote for you. This is from Plato, but he says, wise men talk because they have something to say. Fools talk because they have to say something. And I feel like that goes in line with what's the other quote or saying? The most dangerous man in the room is never the loudest. It's the quiet ones that you need to be afraid of.
As a child, my mom used to taunt me and my brother with, I have the last word. I win the argument because I have the last word. But if you read what Plato just said, it's like, it shouldn't matter that you have the last word. The fact that you have the last word might mean that you're the fool, kind of deal.
Yep, absolutely. Mean you're the fool.
And I remember when me and my brother, we would always try to have the last word, et cetera, with the argument with my parents. So
it's kind of like watching the debates, the presidential debates.
Oh yeah, very good point. It's like, who's the biggest fool almost is the one who wants the last word.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So that's it's funny when you think of it like that. And we both have children. They come home from school. At least my daughter, when she's home from school, like she's yapping away and talking about this and that, yada yada yada, because she just got home. Not calling her a fool, but she's young. She just has to get something has to be said. Well, after she gets it all out, then she's quiet for the next 12, 15 hours. And you think she's mad at you or something.
Yeah, well, that's the subtle cues of communication that you have to start looking for.
So all this talk right here of communication and being clear with direction and how it's working with your current girlfriend, that I feel like we've just hit the next bullet, which is personal growth. We've just
Mm.
covered it without even talking about what we wrote down. Like, I mean, you went from a piss poor marriage to a wonderful relationship right now. And you didn't actually say the words, but I feel like your work, your job is probably better now than it was.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's crazy. All this work that we've done, the personal growth, it's like a weed. It takes once you figure it out, it just grows. It doesn't stop. Like every day is better than the day before. Like at work, when making new friends and communicating and getting the job done, proper communication has really just helped, my personal growth take off.
Mm-hmm. Me too. I feel like I'm still growing into it though, too.
I don't think we stopped growing, honestly.
Yeah.
Like I said, every day
Especially
is better.
since I was one of those people who was the fool who talked all the time, thought I know everything. It's kind of like as you get older, the more you know that you didn't know, kind of deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
and the personal growth thing, two things that are part of personal growth are self-awareness and
mm,
emotional intelligence.
yep, yeah.
And those are two things that I actually look for in every single relationship. That if I go on a date with somebody, they could be drop dead gorgeous. They could tell me they love me on day one. If they don't have self-awareness and emotional intelligence, I'm all set. This episode is brought to you by Northman Coaching and their Oak Value cards. Are you looking for a little boost in motivation and self-improvement? If so, then check out the Oak Value cards and empower yourself with our motivational and insightful core value cards. Enter promo code communication for 20% off your order.
All right, Gary. Going back to our topics and points of interest for communication, one of the last ones is influence and persuasion. How did communication in your life start influencing, persuading people?
It all goes back to building the relationship, being clear with what you want
Mm.
with your communication. Then that will turn around and that will allow people to be influenced by you. So if I'm telling you exactly what I would like for you to do, and I'm asking you questions, so now I'm connecting with you and I have empathy for you. I can feel whatever, you're feeling that day. I can understand and accept those feelings. Build a bond between the two of us. So now with that bond created, the chances are I could say something and you will go and do that. And that's, a good leader has to be a great communicator.
Mm-hmm.
And a good leader is going to be able to influence and persuade his subordinates, his followers. But if you're not clear on your leadership, if you're not clear with your communication, then how could I possibly be influenced by you? I have no idea what you're talking about.
I like the way you took that. I had taken it a different route because I really like the Four Agreements book by Don Miguel Ruiz.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the first principles is be impeccable with your word. It really means communicate with clarity, intention, and avoid gossip or hurting remarks. And you should constantly know the importance of what comes out of your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And that really struck me like a really deep down. It was like, wow, I need to start saying exactly what I meant. As I did, I realized that people took me more serious at work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they value that I tell them the truth. And they may not like it. I don't necessarily sugarcoat it.
Yeah. Like in that book, speak with integrity.
Yes.
Say what you mean. Because going back to our kids, I know your daughter's quiet, but there are plenty of times where I've had a talk with my daughter that she'll come home from school and she'll be mad because she got into an argument with one of her friends or something, someone in the lunchroom, and she said something back to them that made no sense whatsoever to me, but I could see how it could be hurtful, and I was like, yeah, I know the book says don't take things personally, but when there's children involved, or if you're talking to your subordinates, you have to really be careful what you say. You don't want to hurt them, because if they're hurt, if your words hurt them, they're not going to want to be influenced by you. They're not going to want to work for you or with you or whatever. You don't want to hurt people. real quick on that whole, speak with integrity and, don't hurt people. One more quote by Theodore Roosevelt was, be sincere, be brief, and be seated. And that's so like right to the point. So here's what I'm talking about. It's going to be quick. So sit down and listen.
And I really, really, really like that. I know you had just found it today, but that was like really impactful. And it goes back to the essence of communication. And it is like in the foundation of human interaction. And it really plays a crucial role in how we understand each other, collaborate, and our personal growth.
And to the listeners out there, if you want to learn how to speak with more integrity, if you want to find the courage to ask the questions, to express what you really want, if you need help communicating with others as clearly as you can to avoid misunderstandings, then reach out to us at Northman Coaching for your free consultation. Oh, one more thing before we close it out.
All right.
Don't ever forget that the word is a force. It has the power to express and communicate and to think. So those words, that forceful word, can make or break a person. So be careful with your words.
If you would like to go further or deeper on this topic, reach out to us. We want to know you and hear your powerful story. Chat or connect with us by booking a free session on our website, northmancoaching.com. And folks, that's a wrap on today's episode. And of course, thank you all out there for listening. We're so glad that you could join us today. If you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to subscribe to our podcast, Living by Oak Values. And if you feel generous, leave us a review. It really helps us out and keeps these conversations going. For more updates and exclusive content, follow us on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, or visit our website, northmancoaching.com. We'll be back next week with another exciting episode that you don't want to miss. Until then, keep discussing your values, embracing the journey, take care, and stay authentic.